Welcome back to the Retro Horror Academy. My name is Daniel Richardson, and today we're going to be looking at the year in horror 1926. Again, not a lot changing in the way of horror. However, it's like all the regulars, the rock stars, if you will, of the genre, they're still just putting out a ton of output right now. So we got 5 films we're going to be looking at. So let's get right into it. At number 5, the number 5 film of 1926, I'm going to probably butcher the name here, Majesty in Hell. Majesty in Hell, this is an Italian film. Basically, Majesty, who is kind of like Hercules, he's kind of like a Hercules type character, visits hell, and they're trying to sway him to corrupt his soul, if you will. There wasn't a whole lot about this film I knew going into it. And in fact, this may be... I know, I will speak for the Academy, obviously. The Academy, we set it straight. We voted together. This got placed last, but this may be up there as far as what I like from 1926. This film, it plays out more like an adventure, a fantasy adventure. So it's not really horror, which is probably why it gets dropped down to 5 instead of being top of the list. But it does kind of play out like an episode of Hercules, I guess. It's kind of got a lot of soap opera-ish dealings. There's Satan, and then there's these different demons underneath him, and Satan's wife's cheating on him with this other demon, and then when I'm gonna call him Hercules. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing Majesty right or not, but once Hercules gets down there, dude, he's like laying pipe to everybody. Not much to say beyond this. The credits had it listed that Dante, the dude who wrote Dante's Inferno, they used some of his quotes and stuff in this movie. And apparently this movie would go on to inspire Fellini years later. So, must have been a huge hit in Italy. But honestly, this is like the one movie I couldn't find a lot on when I was doing my research. But overall, I liked it. I thought it was good. I think this is honestly the best depiction of hell since Dante's Inferno. Really dug it, but once again, it's a very casual kind of hell. Like I said, no one's really being tortured that much. It's like a social club more than anything else. I don't know. It seems like if that's hell, I'd be okay with it. Wouldn't be that big of a deal to get dropped in there. But this film currently has a 6.7 on IMDb, so there you have it. Number 5 film of the 5th horror film of 1926, Majesty in Hell. So now we move on to number 4. What was the number 4 horror film of 1926? The Magician. So this was made here in America. The Magician tells a story about this, he's a magician who's basically, he's trying to create life. And turns out he has to have a virgin, the blood of a virgin, to do this. And so he finds his virgin, and him and his little hunchback assistant go on to cause some chaos. So this one, it's directed by a guy named Rex Ingram. He is listed as the creative director, but a lot of people are saying that he did not direct this at all. Almost like he had his producers and others kind of do the direction for him, but he took credit as, the top guy, which I guess was kind of common for this Rex guy. Like, I guess he's made several films back in the day, and this was kind of just, what he did. Only other note for this dude was he was married to the to his assistant, to the actress, the lead actress in this thing. But that's pretty much it on that front. This film also stars Paul Werner, who is probably best known right now. He's did a few films, but I think he's probably best known for the Golem, as the Golem. Take a drink. Thank you. And in the reviews I was reading, a lot of people were kind of giving him some criticism. Like everybody kept, kind of crapping on him for his performance. I thought he gave the best performance of the movie. Like he was the only one in this film that really had any kind of like screen presence. Like you're definitely drawn to this guy when you watch it. This is, like I said, this guy is supposed to be a magician slash scientist slash escaped mental patient, as we find out later in the end. This was your typical mad scientist kind of storyline. In fact, this would heavily influence James Wells later on when he would do Frankenstein, at least visually in the look of this film. Especially the ending of it. This film, overall, I liked it. It's a little slow starting off. You don't quite know exactly where it's going. But once it starts getting going, I don't know. I found it pretty good. I don't know. It just got quite a few bad reviews back in the day, which is why it's probably ranked fourth on the list here. But I guess as far as like the horror films go, I got to put this pretty high personally. I liked it. I was a fan of it. So number 3, we got The Student of Prague. This is a German film. Basic premises, our main character here, he doesn't have a whole lot of money, and he's yearning for more than just a good time. Like he's wanting to settle down and find love. However, he feels that since he doesn't have the money to do so, why bother with it? Until he meets a stranger who decides to give him the money. However, he's got to pay a pretty hefty price here. This movie is a remake of the, I believe, 1913 movie, Student of Prague. Stars Conrad, I butcher this dude's last name, Conrad Veidt, and Werner Krauss. This is the team that was on the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari as well. It's pretty good seeing this, these two guys in this movie right here. Honestly, I wasn't as big. I will say this, and this is what a lot of reviews said too. This movie definitely was an improvement over the original. But with that said, honestly, yes, it looks better, and I won't deny that. But it's longer, and I feel like, I don't know, that's the problem with remakes, I guess, isn't it? That when you're watching it, there's nothing new being added. Like this, I don't know, you just know everything's going to happen, and there's just no surprise to it. On top of that, this had some of the worst acting I've ever seen in a silent movie. I think Conrad Veidt was horribly miscast as the lead, because this dude is great when he's like a psychopath or a killer, and like when he's just playing like down and out dude, he's every man. He just has this crazed look on his face throughout. The scene where he meets the girl and they're supposed to fall in love was very comical, because again, they're just kind of looking at each other with, contempt is what it looks like. And it's like, oh no, they're in love. It's like, no, they're not. Are you kidding me right now? Like, I don't know, I did not pick that up at all. However, there are certain things. I like the subplot with the flower girl who's in love with this main guy. And I think, I guess the star power of having Conrad Veidt and Werner Krauss, because Werner Krauss did really good as, the stranger. I don't know if he's supposed to be Satan or just whatever. Seems like this year was like a year of like devil stories, Satan stories, hell stories, if you will, or hell, or Damien, Lucifer type characters. But Werner Krauss definitely felt, he definitely played the character very well as far as, the stranger. Although he did look a lot like Caligari. So it is this kind of thing like Caligari's here. This film definitely had the German expressionistic look to it, for sure, actually. I love the look of this town, the trees. It definitely has more natural look to it in certain aspects, but I don't know. There's still that flair of German expressionism that I really dug. But like I said, overall, it just felt kind of like, more of the same of the original. And I don't know, it just kind of played out the same. It doesn't really pick up until after the main guy kind of confronts his doppelganger, and we're leading the chase at the end there, and it's really well done. So I would definitely give big props to that. But yeah, Student of Prague, number 3 horror film of 1926, the winner of our Bronze Skull Award. And it currently has a 6.9 on IMDb. I guess I should have mentioned the Magician had a 6.7 on IMDb, but I must have forgot to mention that. But yes, this one has a 6.9. Like I said, it's all right, but like I said, it looks better than the original. But it's like once you've already seen the original, you already know what you're doing with this one, and this one doesn't really add anything new to it, or not enough to really put it over the edge. So it is what it is. So moving along now. We go to our number 2 horror film of 1926 and the winner of the Silver Skull Award, and I am talking about Faust. In Faust, you basically have God and Satan putting a wager up to see if they could, if Satan could actually corrupt the soul of this mortal man. So I'm familiar with the story of Faust. This is actually I guess you could call it a remake. There was the Faust and Marguerite movie of 1904, and so this one comes on the heels of that. I'm gonna take a drink. 1 second. The most unprofessional podcast ever. Sorry. Anyways, so basically, what you got here, and I mean, again, I didn't really have a whole lot of high hopes going into this one, but just because I've already seen it. And I feel like Faust and the story of Prague are very similar, just in the sense that, some stranger / Satan offers a promise that, is fulfilled, but then, of course, it goes haywire toward the end there. I will say this movie's pretty fucking dark. This movie, it takes forever to get going. And I'll get to the, behind the scenes and the production and all that stuff, and who directed it and all that stuff. But the actual movie itself, it's largely forgetful. Like midway through, it just goes into this romantic romp, and then you got Satan fucking around with this girl's aunt, and there's this. I guess it's supposed to be played for laughs. It's supposed to be a bit comedic, but my God, this thing was just really grating on me by then. But it gets to the end. When basically shit's going wrong, because what happens is Faust, he wants to, he meets a girl, he falls in love with a young girl. However, things just go wrong. Satan kind of sets him up, and of course when he's sword fighting, he's fencing, dueling with this the young girl's older brother. Satan's the one that kills the brother, but then kind of pins it on him. However, in doing so, it gets pinned on the young girl, because they're all like, oh, it's your lover that killed your brother. Her mother dies. She's pregnant. And in the scene that really was a bit of a gut churner, her baby dies in this movie. And I was like, holy fuck. And I even thought at the end we was going to go do a whole, it was all a dream. No, we don't get that at all. It's like, no, that baby's dead and remains dead. God damn. The movie's very bleak at the end. Leave it to those Germans. So not too sunny, especially back there in 1926. This movie was directed by F.W. Murnau. Is that how you pronounce that? The guy who did Nosferatu. And beautifully shot film. I mean, I think this is honestly probably the best directed and best looking horror film that we've had to date so far with Faust. I think he did a really good job. He was on his way out of Germany, actually. This was his last film he was doing before he would bail. And he would actually end up shooting. There's multiple versions of this, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even know which one I've seen. I'm going to guess I saw the German original, but I really don't know. All I do know is that he shot 2 versions because he wanted to take some stuff out that he didn't think the American audiences would get, and he was trying to take a version with him to America, kind of show everybody, hey, here's my film. Here I am. However, after that, there's when it got shipped to other parts of the world, certain people, producers, would make certain cuts, and apparently he shot like multiple angles, different angles on each shot. Each different scenes were shot from different angles, and so they got kind of people would just kind of pick and choose whichever one they wanted and kind of cobbled in there. There's an interesting story with the intertitles. The guy who was hired to do it, he wrote it. Producers didn't like it. They hired someone else to write it. They didn't like those, so they went back to the original, and just a huge fucking mess here. This movie was the most expensive German film made at the time. Unfortunately, it would flop hard. Now, critics loved it. In fact, to this day, people still praise this film, for being like one of the best, not just German horror films, but just horror films in general. But at the time, it did not make any money at all. But again, FW's on his way to America, and he probably just didn't give a shit. This movie currently has an 8.1 on IMDb, a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it grossed like $500,000, which, 1926, that's pretty crazy. This movie, I love the ending. Like I said, it does remind me a lot of the Student of Prague in that aspect too, where it's just like, it starts off so dull and boring and slow, but then, goddamn, when it picks up, it fucking picks up. And like I said, this is so bleak and brutal. So, anyways, I definitely would recommend Faust. I think it's pretty solid. Better than Student of Prague, I'll definitely say that. And like I said, it just gets so fucking dark. I mean, to kill a baby on screen, that takes some balls, even for 1926. Even for 1926 Germany, so there you have it. So that leads us now to just one last film. What is the number one horror film of 1926? And the winner of the prestigious Golden Skull Award? Well, before I get to that, as you guys know, we got to give away, induct our next member of the Horror Hall of Fame. And who's going to go into the Horror Hall of Fame? The new induction this year is going to be Robert Louis Stevenson. He was the writer, and really, much like last episode's pick, Mary Shelley, it's one movie that's getting this guy in. However, it's a hell of a movie. I'm talking about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He wrote the book, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This, at this point, is the most remade horror film ever. We've already covered like three versions of it already on this podcast. But then, even then, there was like 2 or 3 versions that were lost. There was a short version that we didn't cover on here that was made the same year that John Barrymore did his version. So it's just like, this movie has been remade so many times. So honestly, for that alone, Robert Louis Stevenson, definitely deserves his spot in the Horror Hall of Fame. Of course, he'll be joining Mary Shelley, and of course, the original guy, the guy who directed the House of the Dead. I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Sorry, it's been a long, long day here. Yes, George Melas, sorry. Had to do a quick search there. George Melas. So, George Melas, Mary Shelley, and now Robert Louis Stevenson are in the Horror Hall of Fame. Of course, he would go on to do Treasure Island and write a ton of other books that would be, made into, movies. A lot, and a lot of his stories themselves, turned into great films. The North Pole, and Treasure Island. I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, you do no, that was Jules Verne's. What was the other one? Doesn't matter. Either way, but Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is what we're looking at right now, and that is what gets him into the Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Robert Louis Stevenson. So now, going back to the number one horror film of 1926, I am talking about The Bells, where an innkeeper who's, he's not doing too well, and when he has a wealthy person show up at his inn, he decides to kill him and take his riches. However, his conscience may not let him get away with it. So this is a U.S. film right here. And this is often credited to Edgar Allan Poe because the storyline is so similar to A Telltale Heart, but Poe had nothing to do with this. Even though the DVD I watched, that was literally plastered on the front, was like, from the story of Edgar Allan Poe. This has been a play for many years, prior to this. Stars Lionel, we mentioned John Barrymore earlier. This is Lionel Barrymore, his brother, as the innkeeper, and Boris Karloff as the mesmerist. He's, and basically what happens, as I said, he kills this guy, tries to take his money. However, this mysterious stagecoach driver shows up, and it's Boris Karloff in his first horror film, which is pretty fucking sweet. Of course, we know he'll go on to play Frankenstein's monster and then just become the true icon in the horror genre. This is one that, again, it starts off very slow and the story is predictable, but it definitely has the atmosphere, the look of the film, the look and vibe, of a great horror film. It reminds me a lot of, I guess like Waxworks would be probably, the vibe I kind of, takes me back to just the look of it and everything. And plus the storyline, with this, stagecoach driver coming to possibly collect the soul or whatever. So, it reminds me a lot of that. Or sorry, the Phantom Carriage is what I was thinking of, the Phantom Carriage. It reminds me of, a lot of it. But again, just for the fact that, the star power, Barrymore and Karloff in this thing, definitely I can see why it gets, taken up to number one. This film actually ranks the lowest, though, however, of the 5 films. It has a 6.4 on IMDb. But either way, though, another great movie, great storyline right here. I can see why it wins the Golden Skull. So congratulations to the Bells. So guys, there you have it. Do a quick recap of what we did. Robert Louis Stevenson is in the Horror Hall of Fame. The number 5 horror film of 1926 was Majesty in Hell. At number 4, The Magician. At number 3, and the winner of the Bronze Skull Award, The Student of Prague. Number 2, winner of the Silver Skull Award, Faust. And number 1, winner of the Golden Skull Award, The Bells. So there you guys have it. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Dan Richardson. This has been the Retro Horror Academy, and you're dismissed.